Every heart you meet is your own, speaking back to you through another form. You begin here, in a quiet space where the world softens. You breathe once, and the breath moves like a circle. It rises in you, expands outward, and returns transformed. This is compassion. Not sentiment, not softness, but the living geometry of Gnosis. The movement of awareness that knows you are not separate from what you touch. You feel it even before you name it. The way your chest warms when another suffers. The way your pulse steadies when another finds peace. Something in you meets itself in them. Something ancient, something whole. The Gnostic texts describe this movement with the language of light. In the Gospel of Truth, it is written, "The Father's love became a circle of light around all things." You sense that circle now. Not a boundary, a path, a looping current of recognition that pulls you toward others and pulls others toward you. When you follow it, you do not lose yourself. You remember yourself more fully, because the self expands to include what you once called other. The heart is the compass of this remembrance, not the fragile heart that breaks easily, but the deeper heart, the one that sees without fear. You can almost feel its shape, a circle turning slowly inside your chest. Each rotation reveals a new face of the one, a new echo of your own essence reflected through another life. When you act from this place, love ceases to be an emotion. It becomes a way of seeing, a way of listening, a way of moving through the world with the understanding that every encounter is a conversation between different expressions of the same source. The geometry is simple. The heart opens, awareness flows out, and the world returns as a mirror. This is the beginning of the circle of compassion. Not a doctrine, a remembrance. The rediscovery of the connection that has always existed beneath the noise of judgment, fear, and separation. You stand at the edge of this circle now, sensing its motion. It invites you to step inside, to let your awareness widen until it touches the truth that no one stands alone. As you follow the curve of this circle, love becomes knowledge, knowledge becomes union, and union becomes the quiet certainty that the divine moves through all things equally, without preference or exclusion. You feel the world soften again, the light bends around you, and the circle opens. You enter the first turn of the circle by looking into another face. At first it seems simple, a stranger's expression, a friend's gaze, the small flicker of emotion passing across someone's eyes. Yet something deeper stirs beneath that surface. When you pay attention, you feel a pull, an echo, the sense that what you see in them is not separate from what lives in you. Empathy begins here, not as a moral duty, but as a form of recognition. You stand before another person, and a quiet understanding rises. I know this pain. I know this hope. I know this fear. Even if you have never lived their exact experience, something inside you leans forward. Something remembers. The Gnostics understood this instinct not as psychological projection, but as a sign that consciousness is shared. a single light refracted through many lenses. When one lens trembles, the entire field trembles. When one brightens, everything brightens with it. You feel that subtle trembling now. You feel the light moving. The Gospel of Thomas offers an instruction that seems simple, but reveals this truth. Love your brother like your soul. Guard him like the pupil of your eye. This is not hyperbole. It is metaphysics. To love another as your own soul means you have recognized the soul in both is one. To guard another as the pupil of your eye means you understand that what harms them alters your own vision. You continue looking. You let the mirror sharpen. The face before you shifts, not literally, but in the way you perceive it. The boundaries between you and them begin to soften. Their emotions speak through the same channels as your own. Their breath carries the same fragility. Their longing circles the same emptiness and the same fullness. This moment transforms you because it destabilizes the illusion that you are isolated. Gnosis begins not with grand revelations, but with this: the insight that every person is a doorway into yourself. Every heart is an unspoken chapter of your own story. Every sorrow is a memory of a wound you have carried. Every joy is a hint of the radiance you share. When you understand this, compassion stops being an effort. It becomes a natural response, the way a hand moves instinctively to protect the body. You are not helping another. You are completing the circle that always connected you. The heart opens. Awareness moves outward. And the mirror grows clear. The circle widens, inviting you deeper. You feel the circle widen as you step into the rhythm of compassion. It no longer feels like an idea. It feels like movement, a pulse, a breath. The heart draws in the world and then releases it again, transformed by understanding. You start to sense this motion in yourself. There's an inhalation when you meet another's suffering, a subtle tightening, a drawing inward, as if the universe is asking you to hold a piece of its weight. Then there is the exhalation, the softening, the release, the quiet offering of presence. Compassion becomes the breath of connection. You breathe for each other without even noticing it. This is where the heart begins to expand. Not outward like an explosion, but in widening circles, each one larger than the last. A child's grief enters your awareness, and something in you opens. A stranger's quiet despair brushes your attention, and the opening continues. You do not know why you care, but you do. The circle moves. The Gnostics taught that the heart is not only an organ of emotion, but an organ of perception. To feel is to see. When you sense another's pain, you are not absorbing it. You are recognizing the shared field where all wounds echo. In this field, the pain of others becomes the sound of God remembering himself. A resonance moving through creation, asking for recognition, not retreat. Your heart listens. And with that listening comes expansion. The boundaries you once defended soften. You become aware of how often you have protected yourself with distance. How often you have mistaken isolation for safety. Yet when you allow the heart to inhale the world without fear, you feel something different. You feel spacious. You begin to understand why love is described as a circle. It has no corners to hide behind, no straight lines to divide one being from another. Everything curves toward connection. Everything moves toward reunion. This realization does not overwhelm you. It steadies you. You breathe more slowly. You notice the warmth in your chest spreading as if a small sun has awakened beneath your ribs. It does not burn. It illuminates. Compassion stops being reactive. It becomes your natural atmosphere. And still, the heart expands. Not because you force it, but because expansion is its nature. Every relationship becomes part of this breath. Every moment of understanding becomes an exhalation of peace. You feel yourself carried by something ancient and alive, the rhythm of unity itself. The circle draws you forward. You step deeper into the circle, and something subtle begins to shift. Compassion no longer feels like a gesture you offer outward. It feels like a current moving through you, gathering every life it touches into a single, widening sweep of awareness. The many no longer feel scattered. They begin to feel connected. They begin to feel like variations of a single presence. Individuality still exists. You remain yourself. Others remain themselves. Yet the edges soften. The separations that once felt absolute now feel permeable, like thin veils shaped by experience rather than truth. Beneath those veils, something shared pulses with the same quiet rhythm. You recognize it instinctively. It is the unity you have been sensing since the first moment the heart opened. The tripartite tractate describes this unity with disarming simplicity. All things are bound in love, which is the root of their being. It is not metaphor, it is ontology. Love is the structure in which existence takes form. Without it, nothing holds. Without it, nothing recognizes itself. You feel this truth now, not as an idea, but as a vibration, a subtle harmony that threads through everything you see. Differences do not disappear, they take on new meaning. Instead of division, they begin to feel like voices in a choir. Each one carries a note only it can sing. Each one enriches the whole. When one voice falters, the others sustain it. When one voice rises, the rest brighten. Unity becomes dynamic, alive, a pattern of mutual completion. You notice this in the smallest interactions. The way a compassionate word steadies someone who felt lost. The way a moment of presence dissolves tension without speaking. The way kindness spreads, passing quietly from person to person, echoing far beyond the moment you offered it. The circle reveals itself in these traces, always returning to its source. This restoration of unity does not require forcing harmony. It requires seeing. When you see others through the lens of Gnosis, you stop expecting them to mirror your shape. You begin to appreciate the curve of their own journey, the unique angle of their experience. Their path does not threaten yours, it completes it. The more you recognize this, the more natural compassion becomes. You do not push it outward, you allow it to circulate. Awareness flows from you to them and back again in one continuous loop. The circle becomes whole because you stop interrupting it with judgment or fear. This is the moment you realize the truth the Gnostics carried quietly through the centuries. Love is not an emotion added to life. It is the architecture life is built upon. When you remember this, division collapses. The many reveal themselves as one. The circle restores itself through you, and it draws you toward its deepest tenderness. You feel the circle draw you toward its most delicate point, the place where compassion touches sorrow without fear. Here, the heart does not close, it opens wider. And in that widening, something ancient begins to speak. This is where Sophia enters. Not as myth, not as metaphor, but as the living memory of divine empathy moving through creation. Her story has many forms across the Gnostic texts, yet the pulse beneath all of them is the same. A being of light who fell into the fracture of separation, and whose return radiates healing through every realm she touches. You feel her presence not as a figure outside yourself, but as the tenderness within you, the part that refuses to turn away from suffering, the part that sees the broken pieces of the world and leans closer instead of retreating. Compassion deepens here because it recognizes itself in Sophia's longing to restore what has been lost. The pistis. Sophia describes the moment her grief becomes transfiguration. Her tears became the streams of light that healed the aeons. You sense what this means. Her tears are not weakness. They are recognition. They are the first movement of love responding to division. They are the beginning of the circle's return. You carry this same movement. Every time your heart melts in the presence of another's pain, you enact Sophia's remembrance. Every time you refuse to harden, refuse to withdraw, refuse to treat the world as something separate from you, you participate in the healing she began. Compassion becomes cosmic in scale because it aligns you with the current that restores unity. You feel this current now. It is subtle, almost a whisper. A warmth that gathers behind your ribs. A soft ache that is not suffering but sensitivity. You realize that this ache is sacred. It means you are connected. It means you are not numb. It means you are alive in the places where the world has forgotten itself. You begin to understand why Gnostic compassion is not sentimental. It is courageous. It is the willingness to let divine tenderness move through you even when the world feels fractured. Sophia does not heal by avoiding the broken realms. She heals by entering them with unguarded love. And you feel yourself doing the same in your own quiet way. Through patience, understanding, gentleness, presence, this movement does not exhaust you. It nourishes you. Because compassion is not depletion, it is circulation. When you offer it, you are not giving away your strength. You are joining the stream that flows from the heart of the one back into every corner of creation. The circle brightens through every act of tenderness. Sophia's tears fall still through every gesture of compassion, healing what fear has divided. You feel them now, not as sorrow, but as light. They gather around you, soft and luminous, reminding you that every heart is part of the same cosmic restoration. And the circle widens again. You move now into a wider vision, The circle that began in the heart expands until it touches the shape of the cosmos itself. What felt personal becomes vast. What felt intimate becomes structural. You begin to sense that compassion is not only a human gesture, it is a principle woven into the very fabric of existence. When you pause, you feel the space around you differently. The air is not empty. It holds relationships, forces, echoes, traces of everything that lives. You begin to notice the subtle threads that bind experience together, the resonance between thought and emotion, between presence and response, between action and consequence. It feels like a web, luminous and alive. And the deeper you look, the more you realize it is made of connection. Every kindness you give shifts the pattern. Every moment of presence strengthens the weave. Every act of cruelty tears at it, sending tremors far beyond the place where harm began. You recognize how easily the world forgets this. How often people imagine their choices as isolated events. Yet nothing is isolated. Every gesture ripples outward, touching lives you will never meet, shaping futures you will never see. You sense this web moving as you breathe. It extends through memories, relationships, the stories of whole civilizations. It hums quietly beneath the noise of the world, waiting for consciousness to align with it. When you act with compassion, you tune yourself to its frequency. When you withhold compassion, you fall out of rhythm with the truth of how things are connected. This is why love feels like clarity, why hatred feels like distortion, why empathy steadies you, why judgment tightens your chest. Your body recognizes the web even when your mind forgets it. You feel coherence when you act in harmony with it. You feel dissonance when you resist it. The Gnostics understood this as the architecture of the pleroma, reflected in the world below. A field where unity becomes form, where form becomes relationship, and where relationship reveals the character of the divine. You stand inside that architecture now, aware that every life is a point of light connected to all others by invisible strands. The more compassion flows between these points, the more radiant the web becomes. You begin to trust this. You begin to rely on it. You see how even the smallest act of tenderness reverberates through the whole. A gentle word steadies not only the one who hears it, but the ones who will encounter them later. A moment of patience eases tension that would have spread into conflict. A forgiving thought softens an inner knot that would have hardened into bitterness. Nothing remains contained. Everything travels. This understanding does not burden you. It empowers you. It shows you that the world is not healed through grand gestures alone. It is healed through countless small radiances, quiet acts of recognition, silent offerings of presence, subtle softenings of the heart. This is love as structure, love as field, love as the unseen foundation upon which reality rests. You stand in the center of this glowing web, aware that your own compassion strengthens the entire pattern. Every connection brightens. Every thread vibrates gently. Unity is no longer an idea. It is something you can feel. and the circle draws you toward its still, luminous center. You arrive at the heart of the circle. Not the emotional heart, not the symbolic heart, but the still point where all motion folds into itself. Here, compassion stops being something you do. It becomes something you are. The distinction between giving and receiving dissolves, and you sense why the sages spoke of love as the root of unity. At this center, nothing is forced, nothing is taken. Everything moves without strain. When you offer care, it does not feel like effort leaving your hands. It feels like presence returning to its source. When you receive kindness, it does not feel like debt. It feels like recognition flowing back toward the place where it first arose. The circle completes itself quietly. You notice how your awareness changes here. The old reflex to measure what you give against what you get fades. The inner negotiations fall silent. You do not wonder whether others deserve compassion. You do not worry whether the world will repay you in equal measure. A deeper clarity speaks instead. Compassion is the natural expression of unity. When the circle is unbroken, love moves freely. The Gospel of Thomas hints at this mystery with a line that echoes across every level of your being. I am the all, from me all came forth, and to me all attained. It is not a claim of superiority. It is a reminder that everything arises from the same essence and everything returns to it. When you feel this truth, even briefly, giving becomes receiving, and receiving becomes giving. There is no difference. There is only flow. You sense that flow now. Your breath moves easily. Your thoughts soften. Your chest feels spacious, as though the world breathes through you rather than apart from you. Compassion no longer pulls your attention outward. It moves in a circle, from you to others, from others back to you, each motion completing the next. The more you let go, the more whole you feel. This stillness is not empty. It is full. It holds the memory of every face you have met along the path, every shared moment of tenderness, every quiet recognition that another's life touches your own. All these moments gather in the center like reflections on calm water. You see yourself in them. You see them in yourself. And the circle brightens. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be removed. Harmony emerges naturally when the heart stops resisting what it already knows. In this place, unity is not a concept, but a direct sensation. A warmth, a clarity, a peaceful awareness that all beings move within the same light. You rest in that awareness. You let it hold you. And in the quiet, you understand the simple truth the circle has been teaching since the beginning. Love is recognition. Compassion is remembrance. Unity is the nature of the one, recognizing itself through every form. You stand in the still center, and the entire circle turns around you. You stand now at the end of the circle, which is also its beginning. The path you walk does not close. It curves gently back into itself, inviting you to continue moving, continue remembering, continue seeing the one in every form. There is no final step, only deepening, only return. The world around you feels different, not because it has changed, but because you have. You sense the quiet relationships between all things, the breath that passes from one heart to another, the echoes of kindness that travel farther than you can measure, the soft pulse of unity beneath each moment of awareness. The circle has woven itself into your perception. You see now that compassion is not an act applied to life. It is the way life recognizes its own depth. When you offer understanding, you are not extending something outward. You are uncovering what has always been shared. When you receive compassion, you are not being given anything new. You are remembering what was never lost. And as this recognition expands, the boundaries of the self feel more like doors than walls. You feel connected to the smallest gestures and the widest distances. You feel Sophia's tenderness in every sorrow. You feel the radiant web shimmering around you, each thread strengthened by love. The circle moves through all of it. It has no edges. It has no limit. This awareness brings peace, not a fragile peace that depends on silence or perfection, but a deep, living peace, a steady knowledge that the heart of the universe turns within every being. Even in separation, unity persists. Even in pain, healing begins. Even in forgetfulness, remembrance waits. You breathe once more, and the breath completes its arc. Inhale, exhale, circle, heart. The geometry of love settling gently into place. From here, you step quietly toward what comes next, carrying the light of this understanding with you. The circle moves forward, flowing into the next revelation, the next awakening, the next way the one learns to see itself through you. The path continues with the next episode, the fire of presence, living Gnosis in the everyday world. May every circle you complete lead you back to love.